This is insane to me. Just the fact that you guys have an apartment of that size in New York. How did you fall into that? Was this just a
we're
friend of a friend situation?
We're such fake New Yorkers.
I will tell you exactly.
Oh yeah. True.
So fake. I was standing outside of our delightfully terrible old apartment, which is right next door. And, we had just got another flood in the basement apartment, and there's no heat, and we're all sleeping in one room that's windowless because it's the warmest. And I step outside and I look to my right at our apartment that I'm currently in, and I see that the windows, it's empty. It's completely empty. And what I didn't know was that it was a duplex. And I was thinking, okay, that's an empty apartment. We don't have to leave anything. We don't have to change anything about our routine except for our quality of life. And I thought, okay, perfect. My boyfriend and I could take one of the floors, and then Olivia and our friend Kylie, who also lives with us, can take the other apartment. We're like, let's just find out who the landlord is. And we reached out, and they said, oh yeah, the code is this. You could just walk in and check it out. And turns out, genuinely, for an entire month, we were just walking into this place.
Well, that was the thing. I'm wondering if the end of this story is, and then we got squatters' rights, and now it's our property.
Yeah. We're such fake New Yorkers.
And that's how we're able to live in New York so cheap.
Literally don't pay rent.
Yeah. I don't know why everybody says that it's expensive here.
Yeah, it's like those articles that are written. It's like the opposite spectrum of those articles that are like how to, pay for food on a $30,000 a year salary or whatever, and then it's like have rich parents is like ultimately what it comes down to at the very end. My parents pay my rent. You're like, okay, all right.
You can do anything you want.
Well, there you go. Interesting. Yes, or steal. I mean, honestly, isn't that the easiest way to get by in New York, though? Is to be a criminal? Would you say?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
They can do anything they want.
There you go. Well, then I guess you would extrapolate that and say that it's the easiest way to get by on anything in life in general, right? It's just to be a criminal. Yeah.
Yeah. No, 100%.
Yeah,
you got your housing
the
through squatting. You got your food through stealing.
Yeah, the cops don't care here, though. You can do whatever you want. They have such bigger fish to fry that, I'm not saying I steal. I don't steal, okay? I don't steal and I pay rent. But people steal.
For everybody
all
who is
the time,
fighting law enforcement who's listening right now, she does not steal.
Ever.
Yes, there you go.
So it is kind of easy.
That'll be the second time that somebody admits to a crime on this show. So
it's true. Which.
Oh, the second?
And we won't be explicit about which episode in particular that's on. But yes,
it's still on the episode.
It's still there. If anybody's out there looking for bounties to cash in, there is something that exists there in the world. So no, but I mean, that's the thing about a big city like New York or say Seattle is that there is a degree in which there are crimes that the cops literally just do not care about and will not do anything about, right? And so maybe the life hack. Just in general, the life hack is to find that gray area, that line, and just sort of straddle that for the rest of your life.
Well, I know some people because you can't be persecuted for jumping a turnstile in Washington D.C. Prosecuted, my bad. Persecuted.
You will be persecuted.
We're under the persecution. You can't be prosecuted for jumping a turnstile in D.C. And I know people who can definitely afford to take the metro who just know. They just jump the metro.
Mm-hmm.
So
there you go.
I got a fare evasion ticket on a New York City bus not too long ago. That was the most humiliating moment of my life. I was going to my school and I didn't pay because it's a select bus, and I've never paid for a select bus in my life. And I get to my stop and there's 4 cops and they all walk onto the bus at the same time, and they literally block the door until you show them your little ticket or show them what way you paid. And I'm an idiot because I could have just been like, oh, I tapped my debit card, but I don't have proof. But I was just stupid Pacific Northwest honest and was like, I didn't pay. Can I pay now or whatever? And I was the only one. Wow. They actually looked at me like, this girl's an idiot. Why are you admitting to this? And it's $100.
Yeah.
Literally.
So New York,
and it's
$100.
Yeah.
$100
for the bus. That sucks. Were they just?
I got away with one fare evasion ticket ever. It was in it was so stupid. It was in a huge station, like one of the NYPD hubs too.
Nice.
And I'm so bad at jumping the turnstile.
Yeah.
Like I'm so bad at it. And so I was not being subtle at all. I had to like hop over and then fully turn around and like hoist my leg on the other side. And then this undercover cop just walked up to me and he's like, want to tell me why you didn't pay? And I was like on the phone with someone and I stopped and I just said so honestly, I was like, I'm just so broke. And he just looked at me up and down. He's like, okay. And I was like, wait, are you serious?
Me too, sister. Have a good one.
I couldn't believe I got away
awesome.
with it. I was like, oh,
there you go.
I feel like you have to be a really specific type of body type or person, like somebody who's rail thin, like in a punk way or like in a Puerto Rican way, where you just, boom, you can just use those lanky arms and just fly over those turnstiles. When I was in New York,
the hop. I don't get the hop, and you need like a special confidence to like approach that and hop.
So
this is
the problem. This is why I never did that, because I'm one of the most arrestable looking dudes ever. Like I have that kind of personality where like I can't make eye contact with a guy who's asking for money, or a guy who's like asking for you to join the Jehovah's Witness. I'm so non-threatening and so lanky that like people are instantly like, this is a mark, this is a mark, this is a mark. So I know if I try to break any rules, I'm the guy that they're gonna nail.
Speaking of that, didn't you get pulled aside and triple checked at the airport after January 6th?
Yes, I did.
Are you kidding?
Yeah. I forgot where I went. I think I
just flew to Michigan.
Yeah, I flew to Michigan to see my fiance at the time, and I yeah, I remember that. Yeah, they're like, "Can we talk to you for a second?"
Are you talking a bearded guy in a ball cap just trying to get on a plane out of DC right now?
I promise I wasn't at the riot.
Oh goodness,
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
That's true. That's a thing that actually happened.
Yeah.
I'm curious to you guys about New York, because I saw you guys a few weeks ago in New York, which was great. You guys took me out to a wine bar, drove me to the airport. Truly a premier experience. And the new car, which I was a big fan of. Maybe we can talk about that a little bit later. Yeah. But
you did get 5 stars on the app, by the way.
That's
so
true.
I just want to let you know.
Thank you.
So I remember when you guys first moved out there, and I was asking you about New York, and you're like, "Oh man, we love New York." Like we moved in, and the first thing that we saw was like a fire hydrant had exploded or something. Like you guys, It
was a woman's purse getting stolen.
Yeah. And you were
on the first
legitimately
day.
Like we have our luggage off the plane and we just walk down the subway station, and immediately this woman booked right past us yelling, "He has my bag, he has my bag." And we just turned to each other, we're like, "Welcome to New York. Like, this is our blog."
No. But you didn't say it like that. You said, "Hey, welcome to New York, baby."
Yeah.
New York City.
The Mets.
Yeah.
Yes.
So what I'm asking you about specifically is that, do you guys still have that kind of, because I remember there being a brightness in your eyes when you explained this to me. You guys being like, "Oh man, I just love New York. I love how like someone got their purse stolen and we like chopped about it with our neighbor. This is wild, right?" Is the sheen still there? Because it's been a few years.
Oh yeah. Stuff happens all the time, like crazy stuff. Like even the last 2 weeks on our street, huge fire, like I could see it out my window, right? And so we walk out and like everyone's there and we're chatting with the FDNY, and we're just sort of like being like, "Oh, way to start your morning." And the fire department was like, "Who's sleeping?" And we're like, "Yeah." And then we got our car towed not that long ago, and I had to go to the impounding lot, and the guy who had our car was the weirdest guy ever, like so odd. And then his even odder brother showed up, and I'm just standing there waiting to get my car back, and he's like, "I got birds." And I was like, "What?" And he's like, "I got birds. He's like, "Do you want to see them?" And I was like, "Sure." And he just brought me around the corner in this, like, in the impounding lot, like all these people's towed cars, to this shed, and he opens it, and it's just full of pigeons. Beautiful. Like New York City pigeons in this shed. And he's like, "These are my birds." I was like, "Okay, what do you do with them?" And he's like, "They're my show birds." I was like, "These are pigeons. Like, what is where
Well, no, he was showing them to you right then.
That's what I was gonna say.
He was the birds that
I
showed.
know. I was like, "This is the extent of your show." And it was the strangest. And I was kind of just like, can I just get my car and go? And it took so long. So I just had to chat with this guy about his birds at the impounding lot. And that was literally like a week and a half ago.
You're definitely an out of towner, because anybody else would have been like, no, I don't want to see your birds. No.
I know, right?
Yeah.
No, do not show me these birds. Yeah, I know.
Thank you, but no.
But he had my car. He had so much power over me, right? He has my car. I want to get my car. I got to make him happy.
That guy has solved life. He's got it better than any of us. He's just got his one thing, which is showing people birds, and he knows how to get people to see them. That's what he's got.
I know.
I had a similar experience a few days ago, actually, because I just sold I had this just rusted out piece of crap 2001 Oldsmobile Intrigue. Yeah, and it's like it has non-regulation tinted windows and a bonnet. Like, it's a drug dealer car, and I got it for $1,200. I'm not going to say how much I sold it for or how much money I had to put into it to even get it to run, because it's probably the worst economic decision I've ever made in my life. But this guy calls me and he's like, "How much for the car?" And I'm like, "This much." And he's like, "I only have $500 less." And I was like, "Sure, I guess, fine." Oh, a guest. At this moment,
has a guest arrived?
Is Abby, are you here with the coffee?
Abby is here with coffee.
Is that Abby with
Hello,
coffee?
thank you for the coffee.
And also a dog, I suppose.
Wait, is Lucy?
My dog.
Look at that coffee. Man, I wish I had that. Where's my Abby with the coffee?
She says hi.
Hello, Abby.
Say hello. Oh, well, throwing up that piece.
Returning guest, Abby Strehle.
That's crazy.
Anyway, so this guy's like, okay. So he's like, I say, no, I'm not going to give it to you for less than 500. He says, okay, I'll call you back in a month and a half. Month and a half to the day, he calls back. Of course, this thing isn't sold yet, right?
Yeah.
Because the only people who call me are people who are drug dealers.
Yeah.
Like, it's always just a guy who's like, there's just pounding music or a roaring engine in the background, and it's like, how much do you want for it? $1,700, and they're like, $1,000, take it or leave it. I'm like, nope. All right, call you back in a month and a half. Boom, boom, boom. It happens over and over again. Eventually, this guy calls and he's like, okay, I'll say it. I sold it for $1,000. I lost $200 on the sale, and I put a lot of money to keep it running. It's bad. But so he calls me and he's like, all right, you still selling the car? And I was like, yes. And I know it was going to snow soon. It's actually snowing for the first time today. So like, I knew it was going to snow soon. I'm like, I can't handle this. I'm like, okay, fine. You can have it for $1,000. He's like, okay, I'll be there tomorrow after work. Next day, I set aside like 3 hours for him to show up, call him multiple times. He does not get back to me. I fill out all the paperwork, go to the SOS, which is the DMV, get it all set up, doesn't show up. Next day, I'm out. He shows up, knocks on the door. My wife answers, and he's like, where's the guy? And I'm like, well, you never called me. You said you were going to show up last night. And my wife is like, well, he'll be back at 9. I get back there at 9. He shows up, walks up to me, and it's like, all right, I want to drive around the car. I already checked under the hood. And I was like, when did you check under the hood? And he's like, yeah, I just opened the hood and checked it out. Yeah, I saw all the stuff. I was like, trying like, oh, I put this in. He's like, no, I know. And I'm like, so then
I've been watching you for the last month.
So then we get in the car, and he's like, I want to take it around the block. And I'm like, okay, fine. And we're driving around the block, and then he's like, he does the same thing. He does the birds thing, but he starts telling me about his like all the cars that he owns. He starts talking about, it's like, yeah, when I went on disability, I just like buy cars for crazy cheap and then flip them. And I'm like, and I'm a mark, aren't I?
I don't know if you should be telling me this.
I see how this is. Yeah, right.
Once again, you have been picked out.
And the weirdest thing is this guy like lives like a couple blocks away. So like he's like, on multiple occasions where I'm like, yeah, I know, and if the paperwork doesn't, and he's like, I know where you live. So,
oh my God.
So we pull out in front of the house, and he's like, look, man, I'm gonna level with you. I don't have $1,000. And so he reaches into his pocket and he pulls out a wad of cash, and then a lunch or like a sandwich bag, not one with like the zips on it, just one of those foldable sandwich bags full of quarters. And he's like, there's $900 something here, man. And I'm like, at this rate, I'm just gonna
You took
the
it,
money.
didn't you?
I
You took it,
the
Shad.
money. I was like,
he knows where you live.
I was like, I cannot handle this. So I'm like, there's change literally falling out of my pockets as I get out of the car. I take this, take the wad. He drives off, right after telling you, like, if there's any problems, I know where you live. Drives off. And then I go to the bank the next day. It's like $920. And I was like cursing. I like literally swore out loud in front of the ATM. Like I was just like so mad at this guy. But that night, I went to sleep and I had a dream where This is getting way too much into the Shad psyche here.
Yeah,
I had a dream. I'm sorry to monopolize the time. We have plenty of time left, so I'm sorry to monopolize, but I have to get this off my chest.
This is fantastic.
So that night I have a dream, and this is exactly how the dream goes down. He calls me and he says, "Hey man, the windows are screwed up. I need $200 back." And I say no. And then he shows up to my house while I'm gone, and he's like, "Your husband better get back soon and give me this $200." And then I call him back, and I'm like, "You can't threaten my wife like that." And then we end up having a shootout, and I have to kill him.
Oh my god!
So I wake up and I'm just sweating, and then I go to the ATM, and it's only $920. I mean, that's.
Hey, at least that secures the fact that he will probably not come back, for additional money.
I know.
And we will have to kill him.
Yeah. So yeah, that.
I could see it in Olivia's eyes that she did not pay attention to the fact that last part was a dream.
I saw it.
I was like, this is genuine shock
No,
and
I did
terror.
not have to kill a guy.
Yeah, he did not admit it over the podcast.
At that point, I was like, oh yeah, he said it was a dream. But I believed up until the showed up to your house, said, I need the $200.
Yes.
Where's this guy? Because that would happen.
It's true.
I was so anxious that night going to sleep. So
wow.
Yeah. So
Oh my God.
Wow. A beautiful dream. A beautiful dream.
all I have is my Grand Cherokee. All right. Sorry to monopolize the time.
We've got frickin' Rachel and Olivia Verrill on the pod.
Formerly of Identicality.
Yes, formerly of Identicality.
Oh my
Yes.
God.
God.
Throwback.
There you go. Or, I mean, I guess formerly, are you guys still, as an art collective, referred to as that name?
Nah, man, we're fully Road Clams now. That's my only
Oh, yeah.
club I'm associated with.
Oh, yes, as the scooter people now, or as moped people.
Yeah, get that derogatory term out of here. Scooter?
Scooter.
Hey,
You keep that out of
guys
your
in
mouth.
this Midwestern town that would die to be called Scooter on a regular basis, okay?
It's mopeds,
Yeah.
baby. It's mopeds.
Well, I don't know. I
That's
saw
it.
pictures of them. They look pretty bike-like for mopeds.
Yeah,
No.
they have-
That's what
That's
mopeds
what
are.
mopeds are.
Oh.
Yeah. If you
And they
think
got
of like a
switched.
Vespa,
Yeah, I'm thinking of a Vespa.
if you think of like a Vespa or like e-bikes, those are scooters. Mopeds are the vintage models that have pedals, 2 wheels that are big. They got the handlebars just like a bike. That's
Okay.
mopeds. People don't know that, but real people know that. But we
Real
got
moped
mopeds.
people.
That's
Well,
it.
I guess this is a good enough time as any to transition into, because on this podcast we talk about somebody's monomaniacal obsession, right?
Yeah.
And we get down and
Which
dirty with it.
I don't know if you guys prepared or came with mopeds. If you came with something else, then we can talk about the other
Yes,
thing that you
but
came
I
with.
think mopeds is definitely something of
Mopeds.
note, that we should delve into.
Yes.
Right?
Did you go with mopeds, or is this not your?
Yeah,
My
Rachel
whale
is
is
in
in
there.
There we go.
There we go.
Perfect.
Yes. A great transition then.
A great transition. So tell us then about the story, the narrative.
Yes.
What is the beginning of the moped genesis?
The beginning of the moped genesis.
It's very
the way
redundant.
that
Yeah, it's true.
our neighbor, one of our closest friends, Bree, she came up one day and she's kind of like spontaneous. She's sort of like, she buys things without thinking about it, but it always works out. She's one of those
Yeah.
people. And she came through with something that looks so big and it looks like a motorcycle. And she's like, you guys, I got a moped. And what she has is a 1970s top tank Puch Magnum. So if you know any of the top tanks, it goes from tank to seat, seats 2 people, and you kind of sit forward. It looks like a motorcycle. And she would ride this to work every single day. And we all lived in the same building. We would see her, we would hear her drive, and we're like, sounds amazing. Like, it sounds fun, kind of scary. And then her partner, her fiance, got one. She got a 1970s Puch Maxi, which is like the pinnacle.
Honestly,
For
every time
mopeds,
every
It's like
time
the-
you say
it's the Honda Civic
Okay.
of mopeds.
every time that you just use a word like one of those, proper nouns, Puch, top tank, maxi, like they sound like punk bands. Like I'm gonna go see an entire card.
Funnily
of
enough,
what's
I
named
was
after
thinking
this.
that they could have all been translated as slurs as well.
Yeah, I don't know.
Either way.
Yeah.
Nah.
Goodness. Anyway.
Scooter's the only slur I know. Puch Maxi, which, yeah, it's like the Honda Civic of Puchs. If you're going to get a vintage model, if you want something that's reliable, easy to fix, 1970s Puch Maxi. So now they have it, and we're all like, this is incredible. Like, they're just zipping around town. It's the best way to get around Brooklyn. You skip all the traffic. You can kind of go in the bike lane. You just anywhere that you go, you can get there in 15 minutes. Race anybody.
And then park anywhere.
Yes, that's huge.
And park anywhere. Sidewalk, like.
So legally they are bikes when it comes to parking them then.
We'll get to the legal aspect in a second. Mr. Eric Adams has me in a pussy right now. So after they got their mopeds, it just ended up happening that I ended up getting what was called a Jawa. So that was one of the worst moped brands that you can get. They're Czechoslovakian bikes. You can only get the parts in the Czech Republic, even now. So getting parts is insane. Repairing them is insane. People say, literally, you couldn't pay me to take a Jawa bike. I had a Jawa. I love that little jank tank. And it worked for so long until it didn't. And it sputtered out, and this guy on Facebook robbed me. I sold it for $300. Very similar to the story you had, Shad.
You didn't have to kill him for the additional $200, right?
I know. I practically begged him to come and pick it up because it was like such a burden at that point. But now we have a little moped club of all women in Brooklyn, and we're called the Road Clams. And we all have vintage models. I also have a 1971 Puch Maxi. Olivia has a Sorry.
So mine is a 78 Columbia Commuter, which if you like, people look at my bike and they're like, what is that thing? Like, where did that come from? What is it? I've never met anyone else who has one, and it's an American brand, which is
weird when it's called a Colombian Commuter.
Columbia.
As in like the entertainment company. Okay, I thought it was literally like in Colombia they use these to commute places. I thought that was the bit. Okay, I'm sorry.
No, it's janky, but it's my perfect level of janky because I like kind of like stuff that doesn't work that I have to get frustrated at and then like fix or find my own way to fix. But I only bought it because it was yellow and everything I own is yellow. So I was like, I have to get this yellow bike. But now, for example, like my throttle cable, like a little while ago, literally just snapped while I was riding it one day.
Damn.
And I was like, oopsie.
Oopsied into traffic.
I can't buy. And so I went to the moped shop to replace it, but nobody ever heard of this brand. So it's like a janky, my throttle cable's too long. So we had to like attach all these little random nuts and bolts to it to make it work. And so now I have to pedal start it instead of like kick starting it. And then my kill switch, because I wanted it to go 5 miles an hour faster than I wanted to go faster. So I took a part off. So, but the part
all the inhibitors on that thing, just take them off. Yeah. It was not meant to be contained.
So I took off, essentially it's the choke. I took that off. So, but that's how I was able to like turn my bike off, like when I'm done. So now I have this like exposed wire that I have to like grab and touch to metal every time I want to turn off the bike. So it's like this spark every time I like shut it off. But it gets
that's security though.
Where I need to go.
Yeah, nobody can steal your bike.
They can literally pick it up. Start my bike.
They can literally.
Nobody knows how to do anything. I'm the only person who can like operate.
So a quick question about the moped shop: is that like staffed almost entirely by rockabilly lesbians?
No, I wish it was.
It's such a boys' club.
Really? Wow.
Yeah,
that's odd.
One of our neighbors, he works there. He's got all of it. He's all mopeds, and he works at the shop. It's the only 2-stroke shop in the city, and they don't work on scooters. They only work on the vintage models. And when you go there, I think that's kind of why we started this like girl group, because it is so many guys in this community, which is fine, whatever. But we're always kind of like pushed to the curb a little bit when we show up because they assume that we don't know anything.
Which
and
is like classic
like,
car situation or any vehicle situation.
Right.
It's very we just had a ride along on Halloween with the moped shop, and it was about probably around 75 of these vintage mopeds driving around all of New York City on Halloween. It was so much fun, but with the exception of us 4 girls, everyone else was guys. And we were the only ones that had stock models, is what they call it, which basically means all of the original parts.
Yeah,
they
everything was
everyone else was all kitted out. But we kept up, and they were like, "You guys got stock bikes? I was surprised you guys kept up with us." We're like, "Yeah, we can do anything a guy can do."
Road Clams.
That's
High fives.
Road Clams. Yeah. So
we did unintentionally name the Road Clams kind of a like it fits, I guess, that it's so.
I was gonna say
we had no idea what.
It's a little crass.
We had no idea what Road Clam meant when we came up with the name. Literally, one of the girls in the group was like driving to like Vermont or something, and she saw a big sign on the side of the road of this person selling clams. And it said Road Clams, and she texted, she's like, "You guys, we should be the Road Clams." But then we look it up on Urban Dictionary like a month later, and we're like, this means roadhead. Like, this is just like female roadhead. And so we tell people like, "Oh, we're the Road Clams," and they're like, "Nice."
That was the first thing that popped into my head. I was like, wow. I mean, strong empowerment, though, right? Like
it makes it so much better.
You walk into any conversation, right, and amongst the Vespa boys, and you're like, "Hey, by the way, we're the Road Clams." They're gonna respect you a little bit more in that instance, right? They're gonna be like, "These people do not mess around," right?
So wait, what are
my boyfriend's threatening to start a rival game called the Boysters?
Well, so would you say that 'cause you're a group of 4, right? You've got a group of 4 going.
No, we got 6 of us.
6.
Okay.
So what are some activities? What are some crew activities?
Are we talking?
We do
ride to
along.
Red Hook. Hey, want to ride to Queens? Hey, want to ride to the city?
I mean, what kind of extortion
And you
rackets
all
are
wanna
you
clean our
running?
carburetors?
Are you guys ferrying meth? Like, what gang activities are you guys really doing at this moment?
We all have cup holders installed on our bikes so we can go get iced coffee. That's not even a joke.
Beautiful.
That is beautiful. That's beautiful.
So we go to the bakery down the street.
What are some the real thing? There's a couple of things that have really kind of pop out to me about this that I'm concerned about. I guess first off would be security. Right? Like, what are you guys doing to keep people from nabbing the bikes? And 2, because, if you're parking anywhere, like, we don't know. It seems like something somebody could just lift up and take away. Other than, it seems like a little bit of a better prize than a bicycle. Mm-hmm. And 2 is, is it just get good? Like, do you just learn to not die when you're driving in traffic in New York?
Well, okay, so I was talking to Rachel about this morning about that. Like, having lived in New York for almost 4 years now, you start to like recognize the driving habits here and the cycling habits and the people who drive scooters and mopeds. And I've become such an offensive driver. It's kind of bad. But with the mopeds, Rachel and I, out of the group, we do not run red lights. That is not a thing. But every single person in New York City who has a Vespa or a scooter or a bike runs red lights.
Wow.
We do not do that because we are not interested in dying. But I have kicked so many cars since I've gotten the moped, just because nobody pays attention here and people are just literally get out of my way kind of mentality. So you kind of have to just get good. But I was so nervous to ride a moped for the first time, so nervous, and I just hopped on and it really. You kind of feel invincible, which I don't think is a good thing. Because, you're totally exposed. Yeah,
because you're the exact opposite, actually.
I'm the most vulnerable thing on the road, I think. But, you get used to it. Yeah. And as long as you just know how people drive in New York, you'll survive. But it is kind of hard.
I think the greatest security is the fact that if anybody were to hit you, they would have the conscious, they'd have to be thinking about your death on their conscience, for the rest of their life, right? So, they're going to try to avoid doing it, or else, the one thing you have to watch out for is, of course, a psychopath on the road, because in that instance, there's no protection, right? But, generally, human decency does protect you, which is something, I guess, the thin veneer.
If you die, you could die happy knowing that in 30 years, this guy is going to to be at his vacation home with his wife, and they're going to have a knockout argument over something, and then he's going to let loose his internalized self-hatred for having killed you, and then it'll result in his divorce, and you could be like, there we go.
Yes,
we
got it.
That seems worth it.
Exactly.
It really does.
A life for life, I guess.
Yep.
I don't know.
As far as security goes, we're lucky because, it's us and our neighbors who are like, that's 5 of the 6 people in Road Clams. And we live in brownstone style apartments. So we have those front patios. So all of our bikes are chained up out front. And then as far as like when we go out, like as a crew, we just chain our bikes all in a row to each other. So like no one's going to take one of the 6 bikes that are chained through the wheels and everything.
All or nothing, dude.
Well,
literally.
And
then most of the time
too.
they are heavy. And most of the time people look at them and they don't even know what they are because they do look like bikes, but they're not electric. Like they run on gas and people don't even know how to
I like the
approach
idea of a guy walking up with bolt cutters and somebody else be like, no, don't take those. Those belong to the Road Clams, man. You don't want to mess with them.
Dude. The amount of hate that will come down on you.
License plates.
People know who we are at some point. Like,
yeah,
I'm not even joking. We have like been riding, and like people have stopped us and been like, "I need to take your picture." Like, blah blah blah. Like, what's your Instagram? And we tell them. And there's all these like other like moped shops and motorcycle shops around here that like are like, Road Clams. But it's so funny because we have like these bikes have the most pathetic horn on them in the world. It's like a like total.
You gotta mod that, dude. You gotta add the truck horn.
I kind of like the little like I don't know. It's kind of funny. Like all of us and people are like, yeah, rad, and I'm like, hi.
Yeah. Have you guys?
Because our mufflers are really
you have
loud.
speakers, so you can like blast Omakomava and stuff as you fly through.
One of the girls has a speaker that she connects to her bike, but I don't know. Not my style.
Okay. Well, so before we move on, because we do have another monomaniacal obsession to go over today.
Really?
Olivia's. Because we got Rachel's. We got Olivia's.
Are we doing 2 separate?
We're doing 2 separate.
Okay, I was
unaware. It's important that we talk about the legal aspect that you referred to earlier. Because you said we were going to get to that. I wanted to make sure that there was not a loose end that was left untied.
So, Mr. Mayor Eric Adams, who, whatever, what a cop. Yeah. Anyway, you can edit that out if you want.
No, it's fine.
His goal in life here in New York is to just get all those like ATVs, dirt bikes, all those like unregistered mopeds off the street, right? Which is so dumb when you think about our little 25-mile-an-hour dinky little mopeds, right? Like we're the victims here. We're not like a quad going down 2nd Avenue or whatever. But that's his whole thing. And I have been panicked about the fact my bike is not registered yet. I'm going to do it. I just, whatever. And every time I drive, every time I see a cop, I kill it and I just pedal and I'm just like, I can't have this bike taken away from me. It's like my child. I'm so connected. I'd rather them take my vehicle. Yeah. Like
I'd rather them
day.
take my life.
And I would. Yes. And one day we were like, all right, clams, let's clam up and go to the Manhattan. And what you're not supposed to do is go across the Williamsburg Bridge in the bike lane. There's like a separate bridge just for bikes. And then there's the cars, which is always crazy traffic, bumper to bumper. And it goes probably around like 45 miles an hour, which our mopeds can't hit. But you're too fast for the bike lane, too slow for the car lane. And I was insistent, like, no, they have checkpoints of cops at the end of the Williamsburg Bridge. I'm not going to deal with it. And no one believed me. And we went on the Williamsburg Bridge and like literally 6 cop cars, 12 cops at the end of the bike lane of the bridge. Revels are getting ticketed. Yeah. Like every scooter that's going through is getting ticketed. And it was just Olivia and I who went on the bridge on the bike lane, and I panicked. And it was a miracle that we got past them. I like killed the switch. I like signaled to Olivia like there's cops up here or whatever. But
you flashed the gang sign, of course, of the clams.
And this is like signal for a cops ahead or whatever. You knock the top of your helmet, and then we do this. Clams. But we got out of there alive, which was crazy because there's no mercy. They're taking them away. And then
it's funny that you said that you got out of there alive, which was a miracle because there's no mercy. Because I mean, are they shooting moped drivers on sight?
I mean, here's what they're doing to the bikes, though. They might as well. Eric Adams posted this video of him at
It's a great video. I kind of love that
video. Do you know what I'm talking about? Where he's riding a bulldozer over all these scooters, and he's like posing on one that's like kind of looks cool before he destroys it, and he's just so happy about it. It's my nightmare. Turns
Come
out
to find out,
yeah.
So obviously elections just happened, and our roommate Kylie went to our voting site like 2 blocks from our house, and she was like, Eric Adams is here, which means that Eric Adams, you know, there's that whole thing where he doesn't really live in New York. He just owns like a property, but the property he owns is like 2 blocks from our house. So we've been ripping our unregistered mopeds like right outside of his house for like a year straight. And we're just like,
what if you're the foundation of that rage?
Yeah. What if he looks outside his window every single day and says, "Road Clams, I'll get you someday. It's the last thing I do."
Probably. That warms my little heart.
Yeah. Oh, goodness. Hey, you know, this podcast warms my heart every single week. I don't know about you. Every time I record this dang thing.
100%.
And we couldn't do this without the beloved patrons, right, that help make this show possible. So I want to make a shout out to our top patrons, which are Zach and Amber Strehle, Joe Papalardo, and Sammy Roberts, for helping us do this. It's great. You know, if you guys are out there and you want to be helping us support the Patreon, at any tier, you guys get on the Patreon Discord, which is fun. We game and stuff. It's great. At the $5 tier, you get access to the post show, which is, you know, a fun little thing we do. It's a little less censored, a little less, you know, who knows? Maybe we'll. Never mind. I won't go into that joke. And I will continue on the path and keep it clean, folks. It's not the Patreon. So if you wanted to know what that was, then go to the Patreon. That being said, the $10 tier, right? You guys get to ask us questions, and that we will answer them on the show. Okay. So first and foremost, I got questions from Amber Strehle, right? Specifically for the Verrill twins, right? Yes. All right, here we go. Living in NYC during the pandemic, how was it? How'd it go?
Okay, it was. I feel like my pandemic was a little different than Rachel's pandemic. It was a little more chaotic, just because of the nature of our jobs. Yeah. But I remember so vividly March 15th, 2020, the day that they were like lockdown, 2 weeks, you know, and I was at work, and I was working at Italy at the time. I was on the beverage team, and they just went up to us, and they basically, it's such weird wording. Yeah. They didn't say you're fired or, you know, whatever. They said, your hours have gone down to 0. I was like, what a weird way to say I don't have a job anymore.
I love that, dude. So,
like,
I love that.
From today on, your hours have gone down to 0.
Beautiful energy.
I was like, hello? Yeah.
That's what somebody says before they kill you.
I will never forget that word. It was so strange. And then, you know, the city, you know, completely empty. Yeah. You know, we've lived in New York longer in COVID times than pre-COVID times. So we only had like a small blip of like full tourism in like New York, but it was still really jarring to see. And then, you know, being quarantined like in our apartment for however many months, it was like interesting. Like, they were so strict about you leaving the house. You had to carry paperwork with you to prove that you were like going to the grocery store or you're an essential worker. And like cops would stop you and be like, where are you going?
What does grocery store paperwork look like? Is it like is it your grocery list?
Yeah, like they had to, you know, if you were like, I'm going to the grocery store, they would be like, what grocery store, when, you know, where, you know, show us.
They would follow you sometimes.
Yeah, like,
you know,
it would be like,
you.
okay, right this way. Not like you could go anywhere because everywhere was closed except for the grocery store. But yeah, and then during COVID, I had about, like 4 different jobs at the time, because it just was like, okay, we're back. Okay, never mind. Okay, we're back. Okay, never mind. You know, so it was just because there was one job I had where we were strictly outdoor dining, and then they canceled outdoor dining.
I remember.
But then they didn't bring back indoor dining. So I just like everyone lost their job again. And so it was really like, it was wild and hard, but
I will say though,
done.
Yeah, I mean, the good thing is like we actually gained our closest friends during this time. They lived in our building and they're the only people we saw, and now they're our best friends. And I give COVID lockdown credit for my relationship that I've been in. That's the way that we were able to get close. We couldn't see each other in person, but we talked on the phone every day, and it only was possible because no one was going to work and you really had nothing else to do. So I'm not in any way saying that I'm completely grateful for the time during lockdown, but I'm grateful that I have this experience of like, I'm glad we didn't leave New York, basically. Yeah. It was a moment of time.
You could have written the article and got it published somewhere. There was 150,000 of the Why I'm Leaving New York pieces. Yes. Everybody got to write one.
Yeah. I know.
Yeah. Pathetic.
No, I knew, I was like, I can't be that. I have to stick it out. Like, this is going to be hard and it's going to be annoying, but like, the grandkids, you gotta think about the grandkids and what they're gonna ask us one day. And I'm like, our landlord never gave us any leeway on rents. We had to pay rent every month throughout COVID the entire time. And in the long run, I'm happy we did, because now that's what a lot of people are dealing with.
It's bad
landlords coming back and you're like, hey, so I was really nice to you, but you have to pay me now. Yeah. So now they have all this back. So I'm grateful now that we didn't do it, but it, like no mercy. It's like no job, still got to pay all your bills. And now you're in the house all the time. So you're, electric and Wi-Fi and everything is way worse. Yeah. It's just, thank God we had a little backyard and a semi decent sized apartment. I don't know what I would have done.
Imagine if you had this 2-story behemoth in the when you were in COVID. Can you imagine?
I'd say keep it going. I'd go outside and sneeze just to keep the disease alive.
Oh goodness. Okay, here's another question, which is, could you ever see yourselves moving back to where the little people reside? The little people. Small towns.
The little people?
Small towns,
Small town?
No. We talk about this with our friends all the time. Well, I think we have crafted this small town life in New York City. We see the same people. We love going to the same bars, the same little cafes, and we do our little routine as if we're living in a small town. But the good news is if you ever do want to do something that is, you can at any time. But I have been fantasizing about small suburban life lately, and it's kind of dangerous because I do love living in New York. New Jersey's
right across the river.
Oh my God, no. Upstate New York, please, Shad, please.
Wait, I've been to Buffalo. You don't want to live in Buffalo.
All right, not that upstate.
That's way too far. Poughkeepsie, Nyack, whatever, those little places. But I know I need to stop myself from being so enthralled by suburbia because I feel like the second I get there, all I'll think about is what I'm missing.
Yeah, I don't know, because I recently moved from DC to here, and I there's things that I miss, but I also things, it's like it's give or take. Right, it's give or take, and the people that I miss the most, or the thing that I miss the most, honestly, is just the people. It's like the my small town, my group of people who I saw, who got close over the pandemic, who kind of kept in contact. But it is awfully nice to not live a block away from a hospital anymore. Really great, love that for me right now. It's nice to be able to sleep, something I just couldn't do beforehand. It was funny. That was.
I think.
Go ahead.
I don't know. I just think like I might stay in the city a lot longer than Rachel. Yeah. Like there's something about there is something about how hard it is to like live here that is so appealing to me. Yeah. I don't know what that says about me or whatever, but it's fine.
I mean, earlier you were talking about finding a bike that is the hardest to maintain, right?
Exactly.
Are you a glutton for punishment, Olivia? Is this what this is?
Depends on who's asking. Is the question.
Patreon.
But I don't know. There's something just so like special about. I just get like it fuels me living here. And it's so hard to picture myself not living here, except for, you know, the day in the far, far, far future where maybe I have children. Yeah. That's the only thing I can think of, because I feel bad for parents in New York. Yeah. I constantly feel bad for them, but I want to be an old mom anyway, so it's fine.
Yeah, you've got that as an inspiration, you know, with your old mother. You know, you can reflect on that and go the same direction. All right, okay. We don't have a ton of time left, and so I want to make sure that we keep things rolling and get over to Olivia in regards to her monomaniacal obsession, because we wouldn't want to go through the episode.
Mine is so dumb.
Perfect.
Mine is so dumb and pretentious.
Oh, pretentious as well? Oh, hell yeah, dude.
Like, I'm so fixated on print media right now. Yeah. Like, magazines are like my thing. I'm just totally obsessing over. And then newspaper here and there, the big stuff. But I just like, I literally am staring at my like stack of magazines.
What is it about them that, you know, you find as interesting as you do?
Currently I'm studying journalism, which is like a new like total obsession of mine, and I'm looking at journalism in the way of like, oh man, this is right up my alley, because it's like the math of writing, you know, like there's rules and you ought to follow them, and it's like 1 + 1 = 2.
Yeah, in a lot of ways that is true.
Yeah, it's such a nice like structured like way of writing and way of like looking at the world. And so I've just become obsessed with like the news and, you know, reading and writing and all this stuff. And so then the other like few months ago, maybe like, you know, a while ago, I was sitting on the train and I saw this girl come on and she was wearing a really cute outfit. And I was like, she looks cute. And then she sat down and she had her bag with her and she pulled out a magazine and just started reading the magazine on the train. I was like, you look amazing. Like, look at you. I was like, I want to be you right now. And she had the front page folded completely over, like, I don't care about keeping this intact. I'm just here for the reading. You know, like I'm here to
do you know what that magazine was?
I have no idea, because the front cover was folded over. It kind of looked, it was thin, so and it's popular. It might have been the Atlantic. I thought it was the Atlantic, but I can't say for sure.
Could have been Cosmo. Who knows?
Yeah. It was not Cosmo. Cosmo was too thick. Cosmo's too colorful. It was either the New Yorker or the Atlantic that she was reading, which I subscribed to both, and I was like,
I'm curious what you think about the New Yorker, because I have all my friends in DC subscribe to it. I didn't subscribe to it, but I read it, and I think Shouts and Murmurs might be one of the worst things ever in human history.
Yeah, I'm not a huge New Yorker person. Like I feel like I have
this
to
just
be,
did.
Like,
Take that clip. Take that clip out. Olivia is not a New Yorker.
Redacted. I am not the New Yorker person. Yeah. It's not my favorite publication for sure. I don't know what it is. I think it might just be my own thing where like everyone reads it, and so I'm like, I'm automatically not gonna love it. But yeah, there's something about it. I've never been able to put into words though, but there's something about it that I'm not a huge fan of. The Atlantic though, I'm obsessed with. I like New York Magazine. I love Vanity Fair. Honestly, really great. I really enjoy the stuff that comes out of there. So I don't know, like it's been fun, and I've been writing for my own like I essentially write for the school paper now, which has been fun, and so I've been able to meet like a ton of other like real journalists, and you know, it's just really like bumped everything up for me.
Cool.
So it's pretentious, I know, but
what's nice about it is it's the physical manifestation of the information that you can hold, and it's tangible, right? Because you know,
and I love to collect. I love like hoarding things. Like I have like boxes under my bed now that are just full of newspapers and magazines, and I'm like, what am I going to do with all this? But
it's a slippery slope, Olivia.
Newspapers especially is a slippery slope.
You gotta watch out.
I know, I know.
You know, I think you could say the same thing about, you know, books as well. I think a lot of folks that I know, I mean, as well as myself, you know, it's so easy to get audiobooks of things. It's so easy to get digital copies, you know, EPUBs of things. In fact, there are places you can find EPUBs for free.
Yes.
Or so I'm told. And, you know, in this instance,
right? Every time I do listen to a book, I like to go and buy the book physically to put on the shelf, right? Because it's sort of like this.
Wait, that's insane. Hold on. Why don't you just read the book?
I like that.
So
I like that.
Here's I'll be frank with you. It's because I have a hard time focusing on reading now. Just in general. Even when I was, because I was an English major. By my senior year, I had figured out that what I needed to do was listen to an audiobook while I held the book and read it. Was like the thing that kept me 100% focused. So I listened.
Called minor ADHD.
Yeah, exactly. So I was always 100%. So I had the sound in. I was looking at it. I could take notes on it and I could even pause to take notes, and it would keep going as I was doing that. And roll with it.
Yeah.
And so I tend to like listen to books while I'm working, listen to books while I'm doing other things, and then. I like to have that physical manifestation of it, and I could put it on the shelf. And, one of the things that a lot of people complain about is people that have, 150 books on their shelf and they've only read 20 of them, right? It's something I want to avoid. And the way to do that, in my opinion, is to wait until you have finished the book and then buy it, because you're not going to get around to books.
Yeah, that's my other
if you
problem.
keep buying.
I always get to the last 50 pages and then I pick a new book. So I have like this big stack of books that have 50 pages left in them. And
I think that's more than a lot of people can say about the book collection that they have, right?
Yeah.
Like a lot of people, they've maybe haven't even read 10 pages of the book, right? And they've got it up on their shelf.
So actually, it's weirdly a really good time to be getting into physical media, Olivia, which I'm sure you know about this, but there's a lot of like small magazines, alternative pressings, that sort of thing. People kind of are craving that, and it's not the way to make money in any respect, but there's a lot of pretty robust. I mean, we have a friend of ours who was on the show before, Nick Rowan, who's one of the editors at The Lamp, which is this like really small magazine. All you need is a few thousand subscribers, and nowadays though, the thing is, and I'm sure you've run into this already, a lot of journalism nowadays, especially for physical print, it's based off of a nonprofit arm. And so, you just need to get like one billionaire to like throw you in like $1.5 million, and that's just what keeps you alive in your publication. So
that's all you need. You need to find a billionaire to throw you $1.5 million.
I know, but that's literally just how a vast majority. The Atlantic doesn't make money. Like I think the only magazine that makes, or the only newspaper in America that makes money in a substantial capacity is the New York Times. Like off of subscriptions.
Yeah.
And then it goes like the Journal, I think, also makes its money mostly from there, but in like ad sales. But everybody else, they're a nonprofit. People donate large quantities of money to keep them running. Yeah. They're owned by Jeff Bezos or something, and they can just kind of survive off of that. It's a tough industry to kind of like start something and have it be grassroots.
Some nice inspo right at the end. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, hey,
it doesn't. It's fine. I think things are hard, but it's fine. But I'll never forget though. Like I was talking to someone right before I started school, and they were asking me like, what are you studying? And I was like, oh, I'm gonna go into journalism. And they were making a joke like, oh, the dying field. And I was like, wait a second. But I honestly was like, journalism is kind of one of our only constants. Yeah. Because there's always news. News will never die. It's just the way
stuff
you
keeps happening,
put out the news.
Yes, it's true.
But I just couldn't believe she said that like whatever, because I was like, wait, it's impossible for this to die. It's it's hard to make money.
Yes, exactly, and it's going to get harder to do so.
But the field can't die.
And until we get robots that can write articles, right? About top
AI
10 top 10 ways to drink vodka. Then we're in trouble, right?
Yeah,
they can do that.
When the algorithms can do that, they actually do. They can already do that. A lot of BuzzFeed and stuff. That's all like written by computers. So.
Oh, great.
Yeah. Isn't that journalism?
Yeah, no, definitely. I wouldn't call listicles journalism, though. That would rankle some feathers.
Yeah, I think some people would get mad if you said that.
There's some cadres of folks who would be upset if you said that. Most of them now don't have jobs because BuzzFeed fired their news arm. But rip.
All great news, guys.
This is called industry gossip.
The hot goss on the industry.
The hot goss on the industry.
We're so jargon right now.
We're Newsmaxing right now. Actually, Newsmax that's a different story.
goodness, yeah. No, but no, it's good to. I mean, I like to buy DVDs now too.
Yeah.
Right, which is,
What?
yeah, I buy Blu-rays for movies because, well, two things. One is you never know what's going to be taken off of streaming services or edited, right?
I have the episodes of 30 Rock that they won't put on streaming services, maybe for a good reason, but I have them.
Or, you know, they funny thing. I don't know if you guys heard about this, but they went back and re-edited the first season of Stranger Things, right? So what they did is, you remember the whole bit where I forget the guy's name, the character's name,
The ugly guy.
yeah, the guy who was the photographer. Who would took pictures of the gal,
Nancy's boyfriend.
Yeah. Well, they were swimming in the first season, you know, and it was really creepy.
He's would stalk her and like take photos of her.
Yeah, and then they.
I've never seen Stranger Things.
Okay.
This is
Anyway, so
Anyway, they have a relationship later, and then it like carries on for 4 seasons of them being in a relationship. And so they're like, well, we're just going to edit out the fact that he was creepy at the start. So like that whole section of it.
Oh,
yeah.
that's so unfair.
Yes, exactly.
Why would they do that? They did it.
I know, but like maybe you could argue like, oh, actually, our true intent was like for that not to be creepy. So maybe if we get rid of it, then it won't be an issue. But like, still, I think it. That's why, to me, you buy the physical media when you can, because it's, you know, who knows what it'll be in 5 years.
Related specifically to magazines, you know, like a lot of that stuff is now collector. A lot of the stuff, there's pieces that don't appear in digitization. And, you know, there's a lot of like people who are working hard to digitize old editions of every magazine and old newspapers and whatnot. But
and you know, headlines are changing.
Headlines change every day, you know, to hit the morning crowd, hit the afternoon crowd. Editors are making edits without attribution to edits, etc. You know, I mean, there's something beautiful about me getting a magazine from one of my clients, flipping to an article, and there being the lead sentence mixing up Paul Ryan and Mitt Romney, you know? And me having to call him and be like, hey, guys, is that true? And he's like,
it's beautiful.
That's beautiful. There's a beauty to that. There's a beauty to that. Well, we can talk about this more because we're actually kind of running low on time, and we don't want to give you a short shrift, Olivia, because we spent a lot of time talking about the mopeds. How much time do we have left?
Actually, because that time is not 100% correct.
Oh,
so
okay.
it's we got another 7 minutes.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah. So I guess the real question I have as a follow up here is that, you know, are you interested primarily in trying to work in physical stuff? Because, you know.
Yeah. I mean, who knows if that's possible, but definitely like to work in a publication would be the goal, you know, but I was so discouraged. I did this interview like 2 days ago with this person I'm writing this article about. He wrote this long form article about Omegle in Mother Jones. And it was amazing, you know. And so I was talking to him about like sort of his career goals and how he landed on Mother Jones as a publication to like publish it. And he was like, he's been a journalist for like 18 years. And he's like, yeah, I keep trying to write for the Atlantic. Keep trying to blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh my God. You know, like I was just like, you can't do it. You've been trying for 20 years. You haven't had one, you know, and like, and, you know, Mother Jones is a great publication, but it's not what he wanted. But he's kind of one of those Debbie Downer guys, too, that will always be like, well, it's not this. And I'm like, okay, but yeah, that's fine.
Well, a lot of it is related to, from what I've, you know, from my experience sort of in the industry, it's a very much who you know thing, I think, you know. Where there's a lot of really good pieces that are kind of looked over, but if you've gotten drinks with somebody before or... you know, it's just drinks. Journalism. It's drinks. If you get drinks. I think journalists have the highest rate of alcoholism out of any industry in America. But, you know, hell yeah.
I'm already there.
Yeah. And I think the only demographic of people who still smoke, too, as like anybody who's affluent and smokes, there's a good chance that they are a journalist. But regardless, you know, more often than not, like I know people who've, you know, have, you know, and I've written for like online publications where, as far as my bylines are concerned, I should not be writing for because I know a guy, or like I knew a dude who was a roommate with a guy, right?
Who cares?
Yeah.
I don't, nepotism doesn't bother me. And I don't know if that's like a bad thing to say. And it's not like I've benefited too much from nepotism, but I see people who like take advantage of it. And I'm like, good for you. You know,
well,
like
it's so hard to get ahead in life. You know, any opportunity you can take, you should probably take it.
Yeah,
you know,
Totally.
A lot of people don't get those chances.
I got my job out of nepotism.
There you go.
I'm nepotism adjacent. Like my friend who got me the job, her dad was our boss's lawyer. So it's kind of like, all right, it trickles down.
Trickle down nepotism.
Now I do credit reporting.
Is that like journalism? Are you reporting on credit to the masses?
No, I work with evil landlords. That's pretty much it. I'm like, oh, you want to ruin that guy's life? Totally on board. Let me get
evil landlords. Don't you mean landlords?
Yeah, the same thing.
Man, a flat circled Venn diagram.
Yeah,
a flat circle Venn diagram.
I mean, I look at our brother here. You know, we convinced our brother to move to New York about like a year and a half ago.
The infection is spreading,
and I don't understand like how he's gotten the jobs he's gotten, but like people just like him so much that he can get literally any job. He was a paralegal in Texas for what? Okay, I don't care if he like knows that I said this on the podcast, but he never graduated high school, okay? Does not have a high school degree. It's not for any reason other than like some stupid, like he forgot a credit and then just was like, didn't want to do it. But okay, no high school degree. He was a paralegal in Texas and we were like, hello? How?
Yeah.
You know, and he worked in like immigration. And then that company was like, we're going to move you to New York and you're going to work at our New York branch. He's like, okay. They moved him to New York. He got this big job, whatever. And then he was like, I'm bored. I want to do something else. Now he works at NBC. He works at 30 Rock as like a coordinator or something. And I'm like, well, how?
Yeah.
And he's just like, yeah, I know the HR person. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, that's where
you know me.
I mean, that's why I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but it's like if people who remember the Lampoon at Harvard, you know, the national the Lampoon, the Harvard Lampoon, the magazine that ended up being the National Lampoon, you know, which like made all the movies and etc. Conan O'Brien, huge national or Harvard Lampoon guy, was like big in popularizing it. If you go through with initiation, if you get made at the Harvard Lampoon, which requires you to like write X amount of articles that get published and then like do a whole bunch of coke and all this stuff. And then you get into Harvard Lampoon. And I know this because I have a friend of mine went to Harvard, not a Harvard Lampoon guy, but he worked for the Crimson, I think. But he was saying that what happens is they initiate you. You know, you got to do like all this coke, you got to do all this like crazy stuff. And then after that happens, they literally put you in a car, drive you to the airport, you fly to New York, and they try to do this while you're still like out of it, but you know, like private jet flies you to New York. You land at LaGuardia. You drive to Conan's office and you meet like everybody. Like literally, they just have a group of people who all sit in a circle and are like, okay, this guy's made. So like he's a Lampoon guy. You know, this is this dude. This is this dude. This is this dude. Here are their cards. They know that you're a Lampoon guy. You have a job in New York after you graduate, and then you hop back on the plane and you fly back.
Yeah,
right.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
See, good for them. Good for them.
I mean, it must have been so hard to do that much coke and write for the Harvard Lampoon, which is not funny, I promise. Love it.
Yeah,
gotta love it.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
That's called that's how the yuppies entrench their power right there.
Yeah,
is that way right there.
That's how that 1% stays the 1%.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, it's like Skull and Bones, but for people who, you know, like write dick jokes.
Yeah,
that's basically what that is.
Who says that can't be an overlapping group?
That's true.
That's all I'm saying.
That's
all
true.
right, folks. We got to call it for the episode today. But we're rolling into the Patreon.
We're rolling into the Patreon. So thank you so much, guys, for coming on the show.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything that you guys?
Thanks for having
anything
us.
that you guys want to plug while you're here? I mean, our audience isn't huge, but you know, if they want to check out
follow Road Clams NYC on Instagram.
There we go.
I'm
gonna do that. I haven't done that yet. I gotta get.
How dare you?
Yeah.
I didn't even know this existed. I didn't know you were a gang. You know, an entity.
Oh yeah.
I didn't know you were on the watch list of the mayor. You know.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
We have a couple like semi-viral reels. Which is fun. So
are you guys
are you guys
open with other chapters existing? Because you said it's Road Clams NYC. What about Road Clams FF? Road Clams Atlanta?
That would be fantastic. That's the ultimate goal. I'd love to go nationwide.
We're taking this to the moon, brother.
We need Road Clams Hillsdale.
Man, I don't think we
buy your wives vintage mopeds that they can be road clams.
That they could not use half the year as it is covered in snow.
Yes. Sure you can.
Those things don't have 4-wheel drive, as I say.
Was the one reported case of a moped being run over by a deer, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Oh, goodness. All right.